sometimes when we talk to children don't understand. And my oldest girl, Rayleigh, you know, she just lost her other papa on the other side of the family. The way we comfort her, you know, is that she believes that Papa's in heaven watching SpongeBob was Jesus.
All right.
But if we had the faith like a child would have, we would be in heaven watching SpongeBob with Jesus too. Because that's how it is, you know, that Jesus is just so good. And I had the world's greatest mama, and when I get there, I'll see her. But the greatest thing, when you get to heaven, you know, you think, well, I'll see my mama again, and I love her so much. But the thing I don't think people really understand is when you get to heaven, as much as I love my mama, when I get there, I'm going to love everybody as much as I love my mama.
All right.
I mean, that's perfect love. And you know, we really can't understand on this side, and it's hard for me to grasp, but Mom was in the hospital for almost a month, and it's been a financial matter to the family. And then when she passed, you know, we set up a memorial fund, you know, and I talked to my sister last night, and she said, guess how much your dad owes on her funeral? I said, if I know my Lord, nothing. She said, got a $35 credit.
All right. Amen.
And that's what I want to tell tonight, but I want to tell a little more about January the 7th, Mom went back to the doctor, and she was going to start a brand new round of chemo. You know, didn't really know anything wrong. She had a rough night that night, but prior to it, you know, she'd been doing real good. Well, they couldn't find her heart rate when they went, and they knew she had one because they could feel it, but they just couldn't count how fast it was going, and it was 171 beats a minute. And of course, they rushed her to the emergency room, then on into the intensive care unit, and came to find out, you know, that she had an irregular heartbeat, she had fluid on the heart and the lungs, and prior to this she had a blood clot, and her blood was way too thin to do any type of surgery, so they had to wait about 6 days to put tubes in. Like the day after they put tubes in, it didn't drain no more. Then they came in that Friday and told us, you know, this is it. Nothing can be done, we'll take the tubes out and we'll put on a morphine drip. Somehow they forgot the morphine drip overnight, and Saturday morning to rise, and my sister gets there. I stayed with Mom that night, and I asked if she'd care if I'd sit down and get some breakfast. So when I come back and I looked in the room, my mom was sitting on the side of the bed feeding herself breakfast. And first thing I heard is God telling me that, I can't believe you listened to what a man told you.
That's right.
Because I was just convinced, you know, them doctors knew everything. And I still put a lot of faith that the good Lord lets people know certain things, but that was a lesson to me to learn. But prior to the first night, they put the tubes in Mom to drain the fluid 3 different times. But prior to the first time they done it, I spent the night with her, and I had my niece with me. Mom was having a bad time, so instead of hitting the button, she decided she'd step out in the hallway and find a nurse. I don't know if I stepped off in La La Land or what, but when I turned around, because Mom couldn't stand by herself, she was standing beside her bed with both hands in the air. Well, I like to freaked out, you know, and of course I rushed over and I grabbed her and said, where you going, Mom? I said, going home. I said, well, maybe after they say you go. And she looked me right in the eye and said, you don't understand, I'm going home. I'm going to heaven. And at that time, I thought she was. And at that time, if she'd have went, I'd probably had to dance on the bed, because the rest of that night is an experience I'm going to tell you all about. We eventually got her to sit back down when my niece came in. She couldn't believe she's standing up. When she sat down on the side of the bed, and she held my hands up with one hand and my niece's hands up with the other hand. And she started singing Away in the Manger. And it's the most beautiful song I guess I've ever heard. I never thought a whole lot about it up to this point. And then she would stop and she would say some stuff that she's going home, you know. And, well, okay, Mama, maybe if you get better, and every time she looked at us, you don't understand, you know, I'm going to heaven. And she'd stare out this window, and with her thyroid trouble, her eyes would be bugged out, and she had them eyes open as wide as she could, staring out into something. And my niece, every once in a while, she'd try to look and see what she's looking at, you know. And eventually she got saying, I want you to sing, and if anybody knows me, I can't sing a lick. And I tried to explain it to Mom. I said, I can't sing, Mama. Well, the good Lord will show you. I said, yeah, he could, you know, but Now, that would truly be a miracle. and finally, I told her, and she'd been singing Away in the Manger, and I looked over at my niece, which is, she was like 17 years old, and any woman can sing. I thought, well, I looked at her, and she had that look in her face, and I thought, oh, no, she can't sing neither. So, and to save my life, I couldn't think of any words to Away in the Manger. And I ain't no big fan of people talking about speaking in tongues and all this other stuff. And I ain't down in it or ain't saying anything against it. But I told Mom, if you'll start Away in the Manger, we'll sing along with you. And I'm assuming she started Away in the Manger. I didn't understand the words she said. But it's the most beautiful song I'd ever heard in my life. And there'll be a new song in your heart. And she said some things and done some things that night that I believe it was shared between her and her Lord, my Lord. I think she truly seen into heaven that night. And I think I was there for a reason to see it with her.
Amen.
And it's just, it's hard to lose your mama, but people talk about it and say, it'll hurt for a long time, and it will hurt. But it won't hurt that long, because when I die, I'll be there with her, and all the hurt will be over then.
That's right.
And I wanted to do something, and then I hated to ask my family, and they asked Dad who he'd want to officiate the service, and he mentioned me. And believe it or not, I was wanting to talk at my mom's funeral. Everybody come around, and I ain't picking on nobody. They would hug and say, I'll be praying for you tomorrow. That's going to be the hardest thing you'll ever have to do. And I don't know any other way to put it. I ain't no great speaker, and I can't do a whole lot, and I'm probably the biggest crybaby in the world. But the good Lord gave me an extra measure of grace that day, and it wasn't nothing I'd done or anything, but I was able to stand up before my mama and praise her life in front of all my friends and family. Because my mama raised 5 children and took us all to church, and she pretty much drug us to church. And as we got older, we all kind of got out of church and went our separate ways. But when Mama died, all 5 of her children were saved and had been baptized. And the last one was my brother, and I'll never forget the day she called me at work, and she said, hello, Mom, how you doing? And she goes, Thomas got saved. I said, Thomas, my brother? And I was shocked, and for some reason it just never dawned on me. I thought my brother maybe had been saved, and I forgot about her or nothing. But the excitement in her voice, that she knew all her children were saved, was outstanding. And I do believe that God sends a guardian angel and watches over you. Not to sound like a pervert or anything, but Mom had a little young nurse, and she was probably one of the prettiest women I'd ever seen in my entire life, and sweet as she could be. And Mom asked me one night, and she said, who's that pretty little gal over in the corner? And I thought, well, she's got to be talking about her nurse, because, I said, you talking about your nurse? I said, she's pretty. She said, yeah, she's pretty, but I'm talking about the real pretty gal over in the corner. I'm sitting there thinking, if it's somebody prettier than this gal here, it's her nurse, it has to be an angel. And for 3 days, she asked everybody, what's that little gal, pretty little gal over in the corner doing standing there? And, of course, when she said that, here I am trying to see her, and, that's Mom's guardian angel. It wasn't mine. And there's just several incidents that goes on and on. And but I got a phone call Friday at work last week about 10 after 4, and said the hospice nurse said, if you want to see Mama, you better make it tonight. You better make it quick. So I made it from Lexington to my home in Somerset, or my mom's home in Somerset. I had to stop by here and get my wife and drop my kids off to make it. From the time I received the phone call, packed my tools up, and stepped in the door of my house was 2 hours. And I told my pastor about that, and he said, brother, I said, it sounded like you might have committed a sin. I said, I probably committed a whole bunch. And I said, believe it or not, I actually prayed that the good Lord would kind of just keep the cops busy